The other day, it was me, Alan, and Matt Sprague. You missed one of the funniest conversations. It's been so hard since I almost my eyes almost popped out. I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital. Matt Sprague found out. Our new thing when I go to Aunt Sue's is Survivor. They're a big Survivor family. Like they love that show.
Yeah.
I forgot how good that show is. Right? I haven't seen Survivor in many, many years, but that's a show that you're like, by the end of that, your heart's pumping. You're like, who's getting voted off? Right?
Yeah.
So Matt was like, I used to watch that when I was a kid. And I told him, I was like, yeah, it only takes place over like a month. And he goes, no way. Like he thought it was like multiple months. He's like, these people are chickening out by 10 days. Easy. And we were just, we were laughing. Mom, Matt Sprague instantly signed up. It was so, yeah. He's like, I can do 30 days easy. Are you kidding? He's like, first day, I'm eating the first guy. Like, he's like, I'm taking.
Would be good for that show, you know. He's
oh God.
They love it. Crazy enough.
But, Mom, it was so funny because we were just thinking, everyone knows Matt Sprague tore his ACL. So we're like, the second he gets off the boat, his foot touches the sand, he just twists it and that's it.
He's done.
Mom, we were laughing so hard. I just picture, he's like, yeah, someone's getting hit off the boat before we even get there. I was like, you cannot have this guy on.
Tell Matt, I said, better Survivor than Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, but Naked and Afraid would be tough. I don't know. See, Matt has what I like to call main character syndrome, which is basically like
Gotta be the center.
Yeah, he's got no. Like he thinks he could do anything. So like, if you were to do Naked and Afraid, this is why it's so funny because Naked and Afraid, he's like, I could do that. I'll go for months, and then literally like day 2, he's like, I'm good. That's Matt Sprague in a nutshell. So that's why it's so funny. But
ADD kicks in, and all of a sudden, he doesn't have the patience to finish.
Yeah, he's like, I'd start a fire in 5 minutes. I'm like, I don't think you know how hard it is to start a fire. Right. But the best part was we were doing the application form, and he's like, Matt Sprague, when his mind is set on something, even if it's for 5 minutes, he's gonna learn everything about that thing in 5 minutes. So he's looking up, what are the odds of getting in? What do I have to do to get in? You should have seen this application sheet. He's like, I'm a gay black man. And he had to get an Instagram in there because I guess they require it, and he couldn't put his because his is banned like every other week, so he puts mine, and he's like, these people are gonna be so confused when they look at your Instagram and then interview me, and I'm just gonna be like, oh, I gained some weight.
Oh my gosh.
So it's gonna be a shit show. It would be so funny if he gets added, if he's one of the 13.
Send it to Survivor. If Survivor has a site, you should send the post to it. They may pick it up. You never know.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. He's. Oh no, he didn't. Mom, this was at like 4 a.m. We didn't record it, but it was. Mom, I was laughing so. I must have woke the neighbors up because my eyes were popping. I was like this because I thought my eyes were gonna fall out. Like that's how hard I was laughing. And even like when Alan's laughing, that's how you know it's funny. Alan was like bellow laughing.
Dry. Yeah. He's pretty dry.
So. Oh my God, it was just so funny because I just picture Matt. He's like we're just like, he's gonna get injured every single day, and by the end of the week, he's like this in full cast. He's like.
I'm curious how long, if he actually does apply, how long the process is for them because they have to interview you.
Yeah.
You probably have to get a doctor's note or something.
13,000 people every year put in applications. They don't start till August, so we're hoping. Survivor, if you see this, you got to get Matt Sprague on there. It would be the best season you've ever had.
I know. I mean, he may not last, but he has the personality for it. He'll definitely make it a fun show.
He's like, the best part is Matt's like, the only reason I would lose is because I would be such a good, I would be such a strong force as a leader that they would see me as a threat and vote me off.
God. He's got to learn how to strategize, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of strategizing with that show, right?
That's what I learned. Like, I don't remember it because the last time I saw that show I was probably 8 or 9. But yeah, there's a lot of strategy to that show, generally speaking. But yeah, so that was pretty much, that was like the highlight of the week. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That and the $31 gas fill up?
That and the $31 gas, $35.49.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 31.
No, 35.
We just filled Grandma half a tank. Grandma's down here with me. We just filled it half a tank, $35. here in Jersey.
Wow.
$3.05 a gallon.
So that would have been 70 for you on a full. Mom, I had 7 miles left in my car. Like, it gives me like a thing that tells me how many miles I have left.
Yeah,
7 miles. 7 miles
Yeah,
was all I needed.
that's another month for you.
Yeah, well, my gym's 7 miles, so I knew. I was like, it's not 7, it's probably like 4. But I knew I only had one left, so I was like, let me see how much. Mom, the Harris Teeter, you have to sponsor me. I'm selling this place. Mom, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, 3 of them for $10, which that's a steal right there. I think the points that you accumulate, and Harris Teeter will have to DM me. I think the points you accumulate is how.
Teeter, we don't care.
I call it. Listen, I'll be your spokesperson, and I'll call it sucking from the teat.
Oh, God. I saw a house in North Carolina on Teeter Farms.
Teeter Farms.
I said, I think we know where they got the name from. Like
Yeah.
a big family out here.
Exactly. But I think you accumulate points based on how many savings you get. So, like, so I think that's how you accumulate, like, the bulk of your points. There's a system, Mom. I'm trying to crack the code. So I usually get everything that's on sale.
Sign right there when you walk in, Chris. There's no code to crack.
Yeah, everything has like the discounts on the bottom, and I don't shop for that much. Like, I spend under, like, the most I've ever spent was $100, but that was like, I was buying spatulas and whatever too. Like, that was like a one-time thing. But like, I probably don't spend over $60 every time I go, and I only go to the grocery store maybe 3 times a month, I would say. Okay. So the fact that I was able to get 30 cents off a gallon is pretty nice.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a lot when you go and you shop for family.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I told Dad, I was like, Mom's basically going to get gas for free.
How crazy is the gas, the lines at Harris Teeter? Do you ever have to wait? Yeah, because it's yeah, so. Oh, I know, but we don't spend as much anymore. I mean, since Grandma came back, I spend a little bit more because she eats like 3 men. But
and the wine. Don't forget the wine.
Yeah, I don't get credit for that because we don't have that at the food store. But yeah,
that's true. Yeah, they have North Carolina. They have a whole wine section because it's legal to like, grocery stores can have wines and stuff. So
yeah, that would be convenient.
I'm living off the teat, Mom.
Yeah, no, getting it both ways, food and gas. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's the deals down here are just too good to be true. You know, I have to either Harris Teeter is losing money like crazy, or I'm being tricked. I'm being swindled.
Well, you're not. It's the prices. I'm sure are cheaper just because it's the South, also. But you didn't shop a lot here, so you can be an expert. You have no idea. Like, sometimes their deals appear. So today I got 2 Edie ice creams for $4 each. You know the big Edie?
Yeah.
That's not terrible. That's great. Because remember, you're getting the little Ben & Jerry's, and they're $3.33 each, right? You got 3 for $10?
Yeah.
I'm getting about at least 2.5 times that size for less than $1
But how much does the Edie's generally cost?
$7.99 for one. Yeah, but
you
know what?
Well, yeah, I guess that would be because how many pints
Ben & Jerry's is at least $5.99, maybe $6.99 for one if it's not on sale.
Yeah.
They're a ripoff.
And I'm getting 3 for $10. 3 for $10.
That's a good deal. But I got 2 big ones for $4 each.
I'm trying flavors now. I think I might have found something that I like better than fish food, Mom. It's insane. Half baked. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
So you have a chocolate and a vanilla. I like the Chunky Monkey too, but I have to be in the mood for banana. So it's half chocolate, half vanilla inside, and then the vanilla side has cookie dough, and then the other side has brownie dough.
Oh, that's
like that should be illegal. The only thing that's missing is like a caramel center, and then your boy's in. But
let me tell you, your mustache right now. If you look at yourself, you look like you got a black. I don't know what in the middle, right under your nose, like a dent. No, under your nose. Yeah, that right there on camera.
Oh, that's the light.
Dent.
Looks like I got punched. It's Yeah, that's just the lighting because it's the shadow because this is so blonde here.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, man, it looks like that for somebody who just looks at you first time. Like
I noticed I had like a jet black hair the other day. I was like, oh, I don't think it's there anymore, but I was like, I've never seen a jet black hair on me. I was like, what the hell?
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting old. Old people hair.
I know. It's better black than gray, you know?
That's true. That's coming next, but you're lucky. You're blonde. Think of Uncle Ray. You don't see any hair, any gray hair on him
Yeah,
because he's blonde.
that's true. Because he has no stress, mother.
Oh, yeah.
It's not possible. Oh, you want to just get started? Here's a question for you, Mom. Do you want to start once a month, do a live podcast?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I don't know how long, like on a Saturday, we'll do like maybe the last one of the month. On a Saturday, we can do like a live podcast for like an hour and a half.
But don't you have to do it on the day you normally release our podcasts?
I would just do kind of like a re-upload.
Oh, so
because like I can edit it. There's no real reason to edit it at that point. But remember, it's live, so we have to be a little more careful with like.
Right.
There's no cutting anything. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Probably after Grandma goes back, obviously, but
Can I get a beep button? Like when I'm talking, I go beep.
Yeah. I mean, we could set you up for it. It's not. There's nothing. The only reason we want to do the live ones is because less and less people do live podcasts, so it helps. It helps from an algorithm standpoint.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, we could do it that way, and then it'll be like a re-upload on YouTube.
Right. So it can't be next weekend because we're away.
Right. Dave's doing it
Oh,
next.
I could do it the following weekend at Raymond's, but it would be with the dogs there.
Right. So Dave's not doing next weekend. He's doing the week after that. So I have to find someone to do next week because I know you're not here.
Because I'll do it.
Yeah, maybe I'll do one with Sprague.
Depending on the timing, because there's not much going on. I might be able to do it from Mike's if you want me to, because it's an hour and a half, and we're not doing anything, I think, until the evening.
Have Mike do the podcast with you? Have the fraternity boys on?
Live from the pit at Alpha Pi Delta.
Yeah.
I don't know what his if he has stuff going on or if he wants to do something with Dad. I don't know. If they want to go to the IM and shoot around, I don't know. But we'll have the dog with us, so I can hang with the dog at my place. So we'll play it by ear. If you can't find somebody in an emergency, I can do it. I'll just take the stuff with me.
Maybe I'll get Ansu to do it. Maybe I'll make Ansu do one.
Do that.
We'll shoot it at like The Office or something. Which one do we want to start with? I'm kind of more, there wasn't too many. I want to start with Arnold because Arnold's making a huge recovery. Good for him in the sense of like keeping it under wraps. There's nothing worse, as we kind of saw with the Meghan Markle stuff. Or not Meghan Markle, the other one, Kate Middleton.
Kate,
Kate Middleton. Like you don't want stuff out there because people start having all these theories and stuff. So it's kind of nice that this pacemaker transplant. Is it a transplant or just having it redone, put back in? Because I know it was.
He had a new pacemaker put in. So he originally had surgery in '97. To replace two major valves, an aortic one and a pulmonary one.
Yeah.
Those were only supposed to last like 12 to 15 years, and then he knew he had to do something else. And then he did in 2018 and 2020, so I guess they did some replacement work. But he just recently found out that, doctors said he goes annually. I think he should put a pacemaker in.
Yeah.
And he made it sound kind of nonchalant. I was coming back from a trip from Europe. I went in, had it put in on a Monday, and I was home and going out to the wherever on Friday.
It had like a triple bypass too. Like is it triple bypass surgery too as well? Well, I don't know if I did.
I don't know if I saw that. I do know a couple valves were replaced.
Yeah, so maybe it was a triple valve.
Surgeries. Two valves, and they don't last forever, as we know. But it's interesting because obviously back in '97, it might have hurt his career if they heard that he was having heart conditions. So obviously it was to his benefit to keep it under wraps. Same thing sort of in 2018 and 2020. I think around 2018 was when he was having all those family issues with the maid that he impregnated with the kid. And
you have to bring up the past.
I had to bring it up. So, and now, he's 76. He's made his name. Now he can,
good shape for, good treatment. Yeah. I was surprised by how fast the recovery was. He said in a week it was already, that's a pretty major surgery. And he's like, I'm already back to good health within a week.
Well, I don't know that pacemaker's major. I know it's,
really?
It is, you're putting something into the heart and all that, but your great grandmother had it done. People do have pacemakers put in. And he was in good condition, but I think he's also a cigar smoker, right?
That doesn't help.
So I don't know if that played into that at all. But he also has a health podcast that he mentioned in it. So it is to his advantage to stay healthy.
Yeah.
I'm sure it helps. The healthier you are going into something like that, the better off you are.
I don't know how bad cigars are for you in comparison to cigarettes. Like, I know they're bad, it's tobacco, but I don't think people who smoke cigars smoke regularly, like in the sense of I don't think they're doing multiple a day, but
Well,
don't
I
quote me
also
on
don't
that.
know if cigars are inhaling. They might be usually like the throat cancer stuff because it stays within your mouth. I don't know that you inhale it as much,
Yeah.
but it's not a healthy habit by any means.
Get on the Zins train.
On the same thing.
On the Zins train. But good for him. I mean, to stay, I would still say for 76, he's in pretty good shape. He still
Yeah, he's very.
exercises. Yeah. He's still. I would love to ask him like how his exercises have changed over the years because right everyone knows started as a bodybuilder then actor but I mean he was a guy he talks about his steroid use and all that when you get off steroids and kind of work out as a normal person quote unquote I don't
Yeah.
know like I'm curious what changed for him in his life because like that's a pretty drastic change. I don't know when he stopped taking steroids either.
Well, yeah, I don't know if maybe related to his heart condition, they told
Yeah.
him to watch it back. And that would have been maybe, I don't know if they did it as long ago as 97. He was still an action hero kind of
Yeah,
actor then. But, he's grandfather now. So
that's true.
things kind of have to be.
He has a pet donkey too, which is pretty cool.
And a pig called Schnelly.
Schnelly, yeah. So good for him.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that he like talk about so bodybuilder, actor, governor.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty solid career for that guy.
Yeah. With a heavy German accent.
With
of all things.
yeah, German or Austrian?
Austrian, but
Austrian,
they're all
Austrian.
pretty much the same. But yeah, it's true. He's an anomaly of what he's accomplished. But he is, the American dream. He's a perfect example. Immigrant came here, embraced it, and took it to the nth degree, and never is shy about saying he loves his country, which is good because it's been good to him, and it's true.
Yeah, it really has. So I mean, speaking of celebrities, let's just get right into the big one. Have you been paying attention?
Just aside, you know who his son-in-law is?
I do. Hold on, don't tell me. Is it a Hemsworth? No.
No, Parks and Recreation.
Oh, Chris Pratt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow.
So have you been paying attention to the Diddler?
I have and I haven't. I felt like he was low key for a while there, but then I saw the FBI raid, and at first I agreed because the FBI lately they've been a little over the top with their search and seizures. But then when everybody said that he was an anti-Trump or not a Trump liker, I'm like, oh, must be serious then, because then the FBI is legitimate.
They wouldn't care.
Yeah.
We've been the Discord's been kind of paying attention to it. So Matt Nee actually posted the lawsuit, the public lawsuit, like the actual court statements and stuff. It is a ride to go through that thing, like drugs, sex trafficking. I mean, assaults. Basically everything you can get hit for is in there, right? With pictures, you're like, oh my god. So it's interesting because again, this is the perfect example of for almost 20 years now we've been having like you'll see a lot of celebrities kind of take shots at the Diddler. I'm calling him the Diddler for now on, by the way.
P Diddy.
Everyone's kind of taking shots at him in the sense of, I would never go to Diddy's house for a party. I would never let my kids at the party. And everyone kind of laughed it off. And now we get this coming out and it's like, oh yeah, he was bringing buses of kids to his house. Like he wouldn't allow people over the age of 16 for some parties, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and
there
then
was a questionable questionable video of him with Justin Bieber when he was younger.
yeah. Well, remember Justin lived with him for a while because he was his producer. Like now you look back and you're like, oh shit, what happened there? Right.
Yeah.
And it's so the reason I kind of bring this up besides like bringing again, a lot of it's alleged, but a lot of it's interesting how everyone around him is getting arrested. Like he had a kid from Syracuse, I believe, college. Like he's still in college. He was like his drug mule and he got arrested for like selling drugs to Diddy, but Diddy is like walking free. He's going to Miami. He's going to all these other things. So, I mean, that might just be the power of money.
He actually had drugs on him when they took him off the plane. So I understood that. I found it a little bit, again, with the FBI, a little unnecessary when I saw his two grown sons they were being detained, but they weren't being arrested, and yet they had their hands tied behind their back, which to me, and they weren't even in the house. They were on like the front lawn near the street. So it didn't seem like they were posing a threat. And I just felt like that was a little extreme. If you're not arresting them, why do they have to stand there with their, their handcuffed or whatever
I believe detained is just for like everyone's safety. Because you're not under, you literally, when you're detained, they just do that for safety reasons, I believe.
Well, but I don't know why usually you restrain their hands because you don't want the risk of them going for a gun or whatever.
Exactly.
And symbolically, if you do it for one person, you have to do it for another. I'm just saying, that seems a little bit, if that's the law, it seems a little extreme.
Yeah, I don't know
obviously the media is going to take pictures of that, and it looks like they're being arrested, and they're not.
Right. Well, that's media for you. Right. That's just what they do. But it's just kind of funny. I don't know where the actual switch was, and maybe it's the good side of the Me Too movement, where now all these people like Nickelodeon, as we saw with Quiet on the Set, you have other celebrities and whatever being hit for like pedophilia charges. Yep. It's a good thing, and that pendulum finally swung the right way. I just hope we don't get one of these redemption arcs like the other guy at Nickelodeon's getting right now, the Dan Schneider or whatever.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's getting a redemption, that guy. He's getting a lot of attention, and to your point, they're giving him an opportunity to, quote-unquote, tell his side of the story. But it is bringing this to the surface, and this isn't a recent problem. I think the trafficking and the abuse of children in this manner, I mean, it's gone on since, decades. It was acceptable in the old days because, kids were seen and not heard kind of thing. And now it's becoming like an in the shadow business that's coming out of the shadows. For all these people out there saying, "Oh, it's not true. It could never happen." Of course, it happens. It's
right.
This is the disgusting side of nature, and now we're seeing on a celebrity level. You're going to see it, I allege, on a political level. A lot of politicians you're going to find out were involved in this kind of shit. And I'm glad it's coming to the surface, but the next question is, what are we doing about it?
But even Kanye West for years was like, stay away from Diddy, and no one believed him. It's kind of like with AJ, Alex, who we can't say on YouTube. Like, he's been saying all this stuff. You don't believe him because he's crazy, and then it comes out, and you're like, oh, how many kids could we have saved if we listened to him, right?
Well,
so
somebody alleged this was the one who was alleged that's Jennifer Lopez was talking in her book when she was in an abusive relationship, and I had completely forgotten that she had dated
P Diddy,
with P Diddy for a while there. Like, damn,
Yeah. But you know what you would like to watch, Mom? Fighter and the Kid had Tulsi Gabbard on, and she talks about like how politics works behind the scenes, like how she was shunned, and like her friends told her she committed political suicide. You got to watch it because she really goes into depth of like how someone gets like politically destroyed just from a decision, right? Like she was talking about how she was on the Clintons shit list. Yeah. Right. So a very interesting podcast for anyone that's interested in that kind of stuff.
People allege a lot of things now because you're seeing judges and high-level individuals doing really bizarro judgments, decisions way out of the norm, even when liberals were predicting, oh, they would never agree to stuff like that. Naturally, your first thing that comes to your mind is, who are they threatening? Obviously, somebody's threatening them in their family or something. And in the past, people say, oh, that would never happen. That's conspiracy. That's not a conspiracy anymore. I think when you operate at that level, they come at you. There's no moral compass in the political realm, and you really have to be not only tough, thick-skinned, but you have to watch your family too. It's a sick world that we're living in. It used to be they'd go after you, but now they don't care.
Yeah,
kids, anything's fair game. Anything is fair game.
Yeah, but it was an interesting podcast. I don't know. Speaking of politics and courts and lawsuits, did you see they lowered Trump's court? How much he owes to like 174 million or whatever it is.
Right.
Did you see his quote at the end of that? That was so badass about when they asked him how he's going to pay for it.
Any business?
No. He goes, someone asked how you're going to pay for it with collateral. And he just turns around and he goes, cash, and walks away. I was like, damn, that's pretty good. His net worth's gone up. Truth Social made him an extra like $3 billion.
Yeah, because they did a initial public offering,
Yeah.
IPO for his stock, and they knew it was going to be, 3 billion originally, could go as high as 6 billion, but then oftentimes those come down after.
Right.
So it's paper wealth, but it's valid.
Yep.
It's going to make him some
It's
money.
not liquid. Yeah.
Um, it's still any reasonable person, any other time in the history of our country, it's still a ridiculous amount at 174 million. And the backlash to the Attorney General Letitia James and the state, it's not just they call him Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, right? I forget his name.
Mr. Wonderful is Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary.
Super
Not
nice guy.
just him. I've seen other. There's a lot more elite billionaires who have been contributing now, or they're turning from the Democratic Party and looking at supporting at least Trump, because it's going to hurt business in New York. People aren't going to want to invest if their risk is they're going to come after your business, come after you, take your assets.
Yeah.
They even threatened to run his company. They brought a judge in to take over the company during this, which is totally, all this is so against the Constitution, but they get away with it in New York. And guess what? There's a backlash now.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard
We're not going.
Tulsi Gabbard talked about Brendan Schaub asked her about the TikTok ban, right? And the TikTok ban, she brought up a good point that we kind of overlooked. So one of the things in that that case is basically if the government deems someone as a foreign aid or giving foreign information, they can be shut down. So like, for instance, they can deem me as being owned by someone with no proof and then shut me down. Like that's kind of the mentality and the freedom that bill gives them. So
Well, I disagree with her in the sense that, yes, that's true, but there are certain criteria that has to be met
We hope.
before that can happen.
Yeah.
No, it's written in the bill.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's why, yeah, because remember, if you look back at the podcast, I think we did either last week or the week before, where one of the sponsors or one of the persons who was involved in the bill came out and said, while it looks that way, but technically that's not the case. The president just can't come out and say, you're banned. That's not happening. There are certain criteria that have to be met. And specifically, TikTok is meeting every one of that criteria. Now, you could say, oh, they're catering it just because they want to get rid of TikTok. Maybe, but Facebook, Google, Meta, all these other ones, they are very concerned about this because they will meet those targets too.
Really? Because Tulsi said the opposite in the sense of notice how they're not saying anything. And that's because they're kind of part of the trying to get rid of TikTok sort of deal, which I think there is something true. I think they're true in the sense of competition. Like you don't have to deal with the competition of China anymore from a user perspective, not from a political perspective. So I think she is kind of onto something there, but I don't know.
I think you're quiet because they're in the crosshairs next.
Oh,
so
really?
if you go through this with TikTok, we live in a country where a law is supposed to apply to every entity of that nature, right? Hence the reason why everyone's squawking about Donald Trump, whether you like him or not. We can't have different laws for Donald Trump and everybody else in America. That's not how we work, regardless of how you feel. So the same thing, whatever that it applies to TikTok, but all these other platforms better start taking a look at it because many of them do have foreign entities that are involved. And if it meets the criteria, they should be taken down as well.
Right. If they meet that criteria, yeah. I'd like to see that criteria. Hold on, gonna sneeze. Thank you, mother. So I do agree. Like, there's definitely some things in there that she said that I completely agree with. Like, I think it really comes down to we can speculate on what's going on. I would say that she probably has more insider information than we do. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but like, you know what I mean. So I don't know what's going to. I don't know if it's definitely not going to get banned. You and I know that, but like, I don't know. I want to see what that bill is going to look like by the end of when it gets passed, because I don't think it got passed
foreign
yet.
entities out.
Yeah, agreed.
It doesn't have to be banned, and that's why others are scrambling now to finance American ownership or individuals that are not considered foreign entities to the United States. Which I'm very disturbed as an American citizen by the amount of foreign entities that are investing in our country. I'm not totally against it because that is part of capitalism. You can do that. We invest in companies in other countries as well, we being American citizens. But there's a fine line between hey, I want to invest in, your farm because I want to help you do well and I make money too,
Right.
versus I want to own your farm so I can control your food supply. There's a big chunk of land up there in Maine that was purchased with the help of the governor's brother. So, there's a whole
That's good.
web of something there too.
Right.
That, who knows how long it'll take to peel back that onion. But yeah, and they've been farming massive amounts of marijuana up there, and it's owned by literally Chinese citizens who have invested in this country. Question is, I don't know anything about who cultivates the land. That's the first I've heard that it's U.S. military. I don't know how you justify that unless she's putting the Maine's National Guard up there or something just ridiculous thing. But that's a problem. Why? Question is why? Why?
I guess there's just so much money in marijuana now, even in medical.
Well, I know why they want to do it, but why do we allow it?
Yeah.
Okay? If that's the case, does China really need our land? Well, of course they do. But is that the best use for the American citizen? Because I'm doubting that they're putting a lot of positive tax dollars or whatnot back into the state of Maine. As a matter of fact, they're probably working virtually tax-free up there.
Right.
And meanwhile, that's a chunk of acreage that could be generating tax revenue to benefit the people of Maine.
Yeah. Speaking of Trump and stuff, did you see this one? The Trump threatens Biden with the image president bound kidnapped in back of MAGA truck. Did you see this one? It's a bad repost. It's a bad one on Trump. So for those of you that haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. So obviously this is a very far right person throwing. So in the back on the bumper sticker, it's Biden tied up in the back of a truck. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this because I understand it is kind of a threat to, I guess you could call it freedom of speech.
Hold on. You have to put it in context. So this week, the AP gave an award. No, I'm sorry. I think it was the AP. Somebody gave the award. I forget who it was. Maybe it was to the AP for a picture. And it was the picture from October 7th of the German girl in the back of the truck who was murdered, the Jewish German girl. They got an award for that picture. Okay? So now in context, Trump comes out with this. Or Trump's people. I don't know who. I guess
it's just a repost. It's not like his truck or anything. It's just like if I was to take a picture of the back of someone's car. It's not like Trump's the one that made it, right? And put it on his truck.
It's not just a random, somebody decided to put this out there. Now, I'm not, maybe this truck person has no idea about the AP picture and all that stuff. But there is some sensitivity to this picture about what's going on this week for those who are aware of it. And naturally, most people are outraged by that. They would get an award for that.
Yeah. The only reason I can think that it would deserve the award is like the idea of you're bringing light, like you're kind of showing the negatives of why all this happened. Like that was like if you were to put a logo on a war to show how bad this war is, that was kind of it. Like that's probably, well, besides blowing up buildings, but you know what I mean? Kind of like that National Geographic picture that they...
Right, I do. I understand what you're saying, and I get that. But October 7th wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Hostages are still being held. And on top of it, it's easy to say that, but imagine if that was your sister's dead body, half clothed in the back of that truck, or your mother's.
Right.
Or your wife's.
It's like...
Your daughter's.
And also that picture wasn't taken yesterday. It was taken like on October 7th, not with no idea how long this war was going to last. Like I think they expected it to be over quick, and it wasn't.
But still, they recently gave that award.
Oh, did they? I thought it was a while ago.
Just this past week. No, it's just this past week.
Oh, really?
It's just very insensitive at this time. And remember, we're battling a bunch of, people on universities that want Jews killed. They're saying this openly.
Yeah.
Pro-Hamas and murder people. And you're going to give an award. I get it, but there were plenty of other pictures that resonated from that day. You didn't have to put that one in. I don't know if the family have responded to that. I didn't see, I don't know if they've made comments. I don't know if they've asked it. Maybe they were fine with it to bring attention, but it's just, to me, and I'm not related to the girl, I think it's just very insensitive at this time to give an award.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But the reason I bring this article up actually isn't for this, but they're comparing this to Kathy Griffith's picture. Do you remember that picture?
Oh, please.
Isn't that ridiculous? So for those of you that don't remember Kathy Griffith's picture, this was when, I believe it was like the day he was elected as president. Trump was, right? She has a bloody head of his decapitated, right? Mm-hmm. To compare these two and then say, oh, it's amazing how MAGA people will allow this, but not the Kathy Griffin thing. There's a big difference between a sticker that's on the back of a truck of a president being kidnapped and a decapitation, like a bloody head. There's a big difference there. Again, I'm not pro having this on the back of your truck, but to your point, it's for another reason, not because of the president. It's because of the war and blah, blah, blah. But the Kathy Griffin one is...
This person might have been making a political statement and did it for that reason.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the timing of it with Donald Trump, given what else happened this week regarding a picture in the back of a truck.
Right.
It was just not good timing either way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm torn with stuff like this, even with the Kathy Griffin thing. Obviously, I personally don't like attacks like that on any president.
Yeah, I agree, including Biden.
Not that they're special individuals, because they're not, but the position warrants that you shouldn't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Having said that, I believe in free speech. And if I start policing this guy with the Biden and let somebody like Kathy Griffith go, that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, because I just can't. The Kathy Griffin one to me is way worse than that bumper sticker. Again, I don't think either of them are great as a threat to a president, but a bloody decapitated head of the current of a current president at the time was Trump. That's a wild one. If I remember, she got FBI investigated and all that stuff, because that is a terroristic act to threaten that. But like, it is wild that you would compare those two.
Yeah, I mean, Madonna made comments at the Women's March. I want to go blow up the White House. Supposedly, the FBI.
Yeah.
You know, when you do that, you're answering. You know, by right, the FBI has to go and knock on the door. Doesn't matter who you are. They don't care if you're Madonna.
Yeah.
They're gonna knock on the door and they're gonna interview you and make sure you're not legitimately a nut job. So, you know, I get it. It's fine. Should they pull this guy over and interview him, make sure he's not a nut job? Sure. If we're gonna have the rules, it is what it is. I just, you know, I see what you're saying. Kidnapping a living president, tying him up is not as bad as decapitating one, but we're kind of splitting hairs here.
Yeah, but I just think, like, one's a sticker on a car that probably shouldn't be there. Fine. The other one is a decapitated head. You had to really plan out holding a bloody decapitated head in comparison to putting a bumper sticker on, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I guess so. But
that's a pretty big one.
But it's interesting that I was thinking about this the other day. You know, years ago, and I want to say maybe the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, when they used to tar and feather people of other political parties, right? I mean, think about that when our nation started.
That was like less than 100 years ago.
I know. Well, you know, during the American Revolution and whatnot. And here, that was probably 200 years ago. But having said almost 200, you look at this and you're like, okay, you know, we are definitely a what's the term? Milder nation than we used to be. When people tolerated, you could do stuff like this all the time. Nobody took it seriously in the sense that, you know, we were hypersensitive. Like, oh, you can't talk about something. You can't talk about the president. You can't do that with the president. There were days when they used to openly mock him in newspapers, put gorilla faces on them and stuff like that. And nobody said anything because guess what? You know, we were tougher. Americans were tougher. And we got our message across. And you knew when you were hated as president. They didn't hide it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. But all right, Mom, we're already on our last article. This might be a quick one today because I mean, we're all kind of pressed for time, but this was yours. The Unleashed Games founder and CEO, Irina whatever, brags about excluding white male characters from alpha build of upcoming game Haven. Yeah, this is like, if you want to talk about business suicide, this is kind of it. Like,
I was interested in this article because I wanted to get you and your listeners' opinion about it. I don't know enough about games in general, if it's true what she's saying, and I don't know the demographics to say, well, I know it's predominantly male. Whether it's predominantly white male, I don't know. I don't play enough video games to say whether she's right or not, or if there are women in it. I mean, based on, you know, the little bit I do know about it, I don't think a lot of gamers care who the person is.
Yeah, exactly. There's very few games that I was just looking up their game and it's not even out yet. But so first off, this is like, Activision and Ubisoft and all these AAA companies, they can kind of get away with saying that, yeah, you have a crappy CEO, but at least they have games to back it up. This is a brand new company that just started. They don't even have their first release game yet, and you're gonna throw that shit out there? Like, yeah, they're screwed. She literally just tanked her own company. So what this lady did,
Doing this for a while, right? She's been developing for like 25 years now, or so she's
yeah,
saying.
maybe, but like she started her own company, I guess, with a group of people who I don't know if they're like-minded because no one else has said anything. I checked out their website before. It's a solid website, but like you can't be saying all this stuff about like, oh, there's no male character or it's always white male characters. Some of the greatest games we have in history are not white males. Think of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider games. Some like people
Zelda? Isn't Zelda female?
Oh, mom, that makes me so mad.
Oh, sorry.
Zelda is the female in Zelda, right? But the main character is Link.
Okay, but Zelda is,
You only see her like 3 times in the game, so it's like it's not to your point. But there's plenty of games where there's a female character or a someone of color. It's just like this lady's not paying attention to the. I would say that the main games that most gamers play are Call of Duty, Battlefield, like the first-person shooters. So I would like to see what sample size she took this from. But that's what I mean. Like it's just bad statements. And then to say, oh, how are people going to feel about us not having any white males and like touting it? You literally just committed basically company suicide. No one's going to buy your game at this point. Unless it's such a crazy good game, which no one's made one of those in a while. So let's see.
She says in a tweet, inclusivity is not the same as racism. Okay. So including people is not the same as racism. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But then she goes on to exclude people based on race. Which
we want inclusion, but we're going to exclude certain people.
Which is by definition racism. I don't care, insert color here in her statement. Put purple in. We're going to exclude purple males. That's called racism by definition.
95%.
So I understand we're trying to push, and this is true across the board. All the marketing right now, every commercial you see, it's a mixed gender couple, or sometimes it's a same-sex couple, and the family is mixed race. That's fine. You could do that. I don't have a problem with it. But that's not the reality. That's not the majority in this country. It doesn't mean the majority is like affronted by it. Oh, don't put any, certain colored person on. It's just more, you're trying to, oftentimes in marketing, they're trying to change an agenda with marketing.
Right.
To influence an agenda. Whereas marketing is really supposed to be reflexive of your society. So, okay, you want to do 10 commercials and one has an LGBTQ couple. That makes sense. But when you have every one of your commercials, that's fine. You can still sell your product, but it's not really reflective of the statistics of the society. If you're trying to create more of those couples through your marketing or through gaming, I don't know. What do you think? More minority people will start gaming because it's more of them?
To your point, like here's what I said this a long time ago. Gamers go to video games to get away from the real world. So when you start bringing real world problems into video games, no one's going to want to deal with it, right? I play Call of Duty because I don't want to be in real war, right? So don't bring that to me, right? That's not why I'm here. Just like same with politics. I don't want politics in my video games. And I think people who are on the complete opposite spectrum of me politically would feel the same way. I hope. I mean, I would think.
Well, and I would also say this. Why just shut up about it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, go through it. Nobody cares. As soon as she opens her mouth and makes a point of saying that I'm intentionally doing this, that's when he puts
Exactly. Yeah. So for instance, if you gave me we gamers are so we just want a good game at this point. Like that's how dry it's been for like the last year from a single player perspective. We just want a good game. If you can make a good game, I don't care if you make the person Indian, Asian, whatever. If it's a good game, I'm going to play it. But if you shove an agenda down my throat, 2-player game, I'm not going to touch it. So,
and I think for somebody who's supposed to be been in this business that long,
you would know that.
She should know that. So that's why I say this isn't about gaming. It is about racism. It's about excluding a certain. and shoving it in their face and saying, I'm going to exclude you because I don't think you should be
Well,
dominant.
yeah, I think what this also is kind of the idea of, and this might be a little level of narcissism, is the game that we're making is so good I can come out with these statements and it won't affect how you guys see the game because it's that good of a game. And
Right.
like that is a crazy claim to make, especially because nowadays everything's getting review bombed. Like it's not going to go well for you. This was more of a reason to people not to try it and not to like it. So that's what I
Right,
mean
exactly.
by
If you just shut up about it
yeah.
and message to the Haven Corporation, if she just shut up
Well,
about it and did
the
it,
company is Unleashed.
Unleashed. Okay.
Unleashed is the name.
Shut up about it and just do it. But
Yeah.
the minute she opened her mouth is the minute I would say, you know what? She's a racist and
Yeah.
nobody should buy that
She
game.
did, yeah. She like it's almost like if you were to release the game and then get a bunch of people to buy it, and then you release all these things again. If the game's that good, people would be like, okay. I mean, I don't agree with you, but your game's good, so I can't complain. But you did this before your game even came out. It better be good, or like I mean, you might as well just file for bankruptcy right now. Right?
Right. And I guarantee you there would have been comments if she didn't even open her mouth like, gee, I love a game where there isn't even one white person.
Yeah.
Right? So probably gamers would have noted it. I'm sure there's plenty of racist gamers who would have made a point of saying that. What happened to the white guy? Whatever. She could have made more of a point if she kept her mouth shut and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Again,
But
some
I
of the
think
greatest games of all time are the Tomb Raider games, right? Lara Croft is the main character. Assassin's Creed Origins, it takes place in Egypt. The guy's African American, right?
Right.
So it's again, no gamer gives a shit who the protagonist is. No one cares unless you're like ruining canon, like in the sense of Zelda's not the main character. It's a new guy called Jibo. Like that's not a thing. You don't do that. Like that. There's certain rules that all gamers agree on. That's just unspoken rules. But to do this is like that's pretty stupid. It's business suicide, 100%.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see what Unleashed does about it because I guess they have to let the chips fall where they may.
She'll
But
probably have to step down as
why do
CEO.
why would somebody like this who supposedly has, other than the fact that she's trying to make a name for herself as some sort of woke individual who feels like she's going to change 18 to 44-year-old gamers,
Yeah. Good luck.
majority of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to come in and she's going to pat herself on the back because, see, I got them all to like a game with one particular skin color. I did that. And meanwhile, I'm thinking that might have happened if she just kept her mouth
Yeah.
shut. But now, only for this reason, not because of skin color, but because she made a point of making a racist comment about a particular. And
Yeah.
if you look at her comments, they're really weird about a particular skin
Yeah, this
color.
is not either way. This is not a mentally well person. But I'm just saying
not
you gotta. I'm just saying this game better be so unbelievably phenomenal, like better. It's gonna be better than any other game I've ever played. Otherwise, I mean, you just ruined your game. First thing that's gonna happen, 100%, is investors are gonna tell you have to step down. She's gonna step down, I bet.
I gave you gamers credit if you'll even attempt to try it, because just based on her comments, I would say I'll wait till the next game.
Yeah,
I don't care
exactly.
if it's another 5-year dry spell. I refuse to reinforce this mentality.
I'll watch
just
a
a
review
statement.
on it, but that's about it. Unless it's so mind blowing that it's worth getting, sure. But like the odds of that are like 1 in a billion. If a AAA company can't do it right now, I don't think these people will.
Well, the concern is if it does well, she'll be emboldened, and others will start doing the same thing. And then next thing you know, they'll take it to a next level. Where's
The reason they can't do the same thing, Mom, is because there's no way we're going to get that many good games. Like, again, as I said, we gamers, we only care about a good game. We couldn't give a shit about the story. I mean, there are people that do care, but like all that's secondary. As long as the gameplay is good, they're going to play it. So if you're going to make all these statements and your game sucks, I mean, goodbye. The odds of them and then another company and another company making these 3 heavy hitting games, it's just 0%. I bet you if you were to look at the statistics, it's 0%. Right?
I just say though, we're living in a weird world, Chris, where they'll do something so emboldened, like, oh, from now on to buy the game, you get a discount if you're a certain skin color.
Oh God, yeah, that's a bad one.
That's why I'm saying you can't give these individuals an inch.
Yeah.
You can't feed into racism, even when they think it's reverse racism. You can't feed into it because then they'll take it to the next level. And to your point, there aren't enough games out there for them to do it. They'll find another way. As bizarre as it is, the stuff I see nowadays.
I think you still underestimate you underestimate us gamers. Like if something gets too political, like all politics are thrown out. We don't like your game. Like I'm telling you, if it ever came down to a war between like all political people and gamers, you'd see us rise up like no other. It would be insane. So that's what I mean. It's not like us gamers can easily separate politics from video games. We either like it or we don't. If the game is really good and it's political, you're not even going to notice the political aspects. You'll say, I don't like that, but you'll keep playing. When you shove it down someone's face like this CEO is doing, it's just a matter of time before they collapse. Like I bet you within the next week or two, she's going to have to step down. I'd put money on it.
Interesting to see. We've gone, movie after movie. Hollywood turns out one of these completely inappropriate, and I'll give an example, not that it's a true one, but like all white people must die. That's the title of the movie, and it tanks consistently. It should, I'm like, just even a title like that, insert any skin color, it's inappropriate. And right there, even if it's a joke, what am I walking into here? Do I really want to pay money to find out whether it's
I got a better one for you. Did you see the mayor of Chicago? What was the bridge collapse? Baltimore? Right? Yeah.
Maryland.
Did you see what that mayor said? So he had a great line of, he's a black guy. I don't know his name, but he had a great line like, "Oh, this is a time where we should be coming together." And then right, and polling numbers kind of like this a little bit. And then the next day he's like, "I'm gonna be white people's worst nightmare," and it just went.
God. Yeah.
It's like it just goes to show like, and then it's they're racist for like it's just so stupid. Like that's what I mean. It's like you can quickly commit like I guess career suicide is probably the right word. Yeah. So and this is a great example. Yeah. So yeah.
We'll see what happens with it. I'm shocked that she would go out and say this. I'm sure she's losing money if this company.
100%.
And to what end? Just so she could prove I'm so not a racist that I'm actually a racist.
But the worst part of this is why it's so stupid. She's not going to do anything that's breaking ground. What she's claiming has already been done by other games. It's just she's not paying attention to those games.
Oh, okay. Right? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like so there's nothing she's doing. There's nothing she's doing that is like groundbreaking. That's why I don't. That's what makes it doubly as bad. Like, oh my God, we're not going to have a.
Well, yeah,
there's tons of games out there that don't have white male characters. Some of them are fantastic games, but like, it wouldn't make a difference. Like, here's the thing. I would be pissed if Tomb Raider just ended up being a man. I'd be like, well, this isn't Tomb Raider. It's Lara Croft, right? That's what I mean. It's not about your political statements. It's don't change something that shouldn't be changed. Like if Lara Croft was a male character all of a sudden, no one would play it. Just like if
they wanted 007 to be a female.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, right?
First we take away Henry Cavill, and then you're gonna make it a female.
You see, he's gonna be next Wolverine. You see, Henry Cavill's gonna be Wolverine. Yeah, they think. I mean, it's still a rumor, but like it sounds like it makes sense. I mean, he's the next. He kind of has the features of Wolverine.
Superman and Wolverine.
But again, well, remember, one's DC, one's Marvel, so he can get away with it.
Right.
But that's another one that's kind of tough because I can't imagine Hugh Jackman not being Wolverine. You know what I mean? Like I love Henry Cavill, but it's just too hard.
Yeah, it's tough. We used to all say that about the Supermans, right? How could it be anybody but Christopher Reeves? And then lo and behold,
Henry Cavill kills it though. Like he's my Superman mom.
No, it's their generation. Yeah. That's why I think it's so funny. All the different Spider-Men, and then they kind of made a very good joke about it when they combine them all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It'll work. They did a good job of it, I have
to say. But the only difference is those guys were only Spider-Man, whereas to your point, you have Superman and now you have Wolverine. You have two superheroes played by the same person. But then again, what's his freaking name? Daredevil, Batman, and then Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds. Remember Green Lantern and Deadpool? Yeah. so it does work, but you have to have one movie completely tank apparently.
No, The Flash.
Yeah, The Flash. I'm still waiting for my call to be the next Barry Allen. I literally look like him. Like, come on. I have to lose some weight, but like we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for.
I wouldn't mind seeing. I know Wonder Woman is a rare exception, but I wouldn't mind seeing a decent, not some contrived like Captain America, what's a woman, but a decent female superhero too. Not overly woke, but just to give another female.
If as long as you're not changing the canology of the movie and to the comics, like that's fine. No one has a problem with. I mean, think of Black Widow.
Right. I mean, Black Widow. You had the blue. I can't think of her name. Jennifer Lawrence played her in the
Mrs. Incredible or Mrs. Invincible.
No.
From the Fantastic Four, right?
No. She is one, but the main character in Marvel Heroes, the blue lady. She changes. She became evil.
Mystique.
Yes,
with
Mystique.
Jennifer Lawrence back when she started.
It was another woman played her beforehand. Another actress with blonde hair played the present day one in the original when they brought it back, and then when they started going back in time, it became Jennifer Lawrence.
So you had Scarlett Johansson. Oh, Megan.
Where is she?
Oh, Mystique.
Yeah, Megan Fox has been, but she's played B-level characters.
Vanessa Hudgens. Wait, played Mystique. I guess Mystique's not that. Mystique.
MYS.
X-Men. Yeah. Lana Condor, Rose Byrne, Jennifer Lawrence.
No. She's married. She was married to
not Halle Berry.
The guy from Full House. They got divorced, and then she married
It's one of these guys. These are the only women that apparently have played Mystique.
Not true.
Oh my God! Let's see if Mom's right.
I don't know if I can get it. She's the blonde one. I can't think of her name.
Oh, Mystique. Cast of X-Men Mystique. I just realized I forgot the cue. Molly Morgan, Jennifer Lawrence.
No. It was like the first one of the first ones. Let me see. The blonde. There. That's her.
Where?
I can't see with my glasses.
Morgan Lilly?
No. Do I have access to my? Hold on. Oh, now you got to bother me with this.
Unless you.
It's gonna annoy me. Let me get.
Google. Not this one, right?
Yeah, the blonde. This one.
Oh.
Yes.
Rebecca Romagen. Rebecca.
Yes. So she used to be married to Stamos.
Guys, this is Stamos. My mom and her sister, my aunt, are like this with freaking everything. Whether it's royal family or actresses, they gotta know.
Yeah. Now she's married to Connolly, the actor from Stand By Me. Grew up. You'd know him if you saw his face. He's been on other stuff. So she was the original Mystique, but. And obviously, Mystique was like a secondary character. They brought her out more and gave her more in the background. When they went back. She's married.
So Jerry O'Connell is her.
Yes, Jerry O'Connell. Okay.
Current husband.
I was in the right ball.
Guys, I want you to know if we didn't answer that, Mom would not have slept tonight. Mom would have been like, she would have been up for hours. Yeah. Can you imagine we were kids, we'd have Google? Did you see, I believe they announced that Prince Charles has pancreatic cancer, right? He's got 2
I didn't know what cancer was.
2 years. They said he's got 2 years to live.
Oh my gosh. Well, he's elderly.
Yeah. That's tough news to get.
Nostradamus predicted how many hundreds of years ago that he would be the last Prince of Wales.
Was he right?
Or the last ruler of England. Interesting thought, huh?
Yeah, until I take it over, Mother. Come on. Once I'm the king.
Well, Peachy Keenan, she did a great article about it, when the princess came out and talked about her cancer. And she brings up a very good point, which is true of all of us. The population in London, especially, but throughout England, is changing so much that there really is not, it's questionable if it will support the Anglo-Saxon family going forward, because it just doesn't reflect the country that much anymore.
Did you see Italy had the lowest birth rate since 1865?
Well, Italy is a bunch of old people. That's why they got hit so hard during COVID.
Yeah.
Because it's a very elderly population. They were bringing in workers from China because they had no young people to work. And also, it's a somewhat socialist country, and a lot of the young people don't want to work.
Right. Yeah, that's true too. But all right, Mom. This is a little shorter one. We just did a little over an hour today.
What about the podcast tax? You didn't want to do that article?
Oh, I totally forgot. Good call. Where is it?
I didn't know if you
podcast tax.
Very interesting.
Holy, I forgot about this one. Yes. Podcast tax.
The federal government, they gave away $324. I mean, I was burnt about this. $324 million in 2022 projects that create podcasts.
Right. So
it didn't all just go to podcasts, but many of them did.
Yeah,
Here's some of
58
these little
podcasts.
50 of them. Let's hear some of these lucky winners. Regeneration Rising. They got
Yeah, so hold on.
440.
Let me just take us back real fast. So basically, the
Yeah.
government was paying these people to have like these podcasts that were. So there's certain sponsors that are like, let's do like a Lexus podcast where we just talk about Lexuses. These guys kind of did the same thing, but with like political titles. So like, for instance, the one that you were going to say, which was like transgender farming, like queer farming. Like imagine doing a whole podcast, and we're not talking one episode, guys. We're talking the whole podcast revolves around this stuff for like 100 episodes. And then they never survive. They don't get any views or anything.
Some of the money just went to the projects, but some of those projects created podcasts with that money, part of it. So yeah, and there were 58 of them. Regenerative Rising, they got $446,000 from the Department of Agriculture. Okay, so that's our tax dollars, right? With an episode building a queer farmer community, not just a farmer community, but specifically a queer farmer community. Okay, another got $200,000 for the important role of Satanists in American religion.
There we go. That's what we like.
1.2 million
yeah.
to do something for the history of the Rocky Mountain region. I'll buy you a set of encyclopedias and you can look it up and find out. 1.2 million. Oh, come on. They also did something on 19th century male romantic relationships and about transgender people in Zimbabwe. So supposedly all these projects were chosen or funded because of quote unquote excellence. And that was determined by the National Council of the Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts.
Now, here's the real question, and this is what my mom's trying to get to. When are they going to give it? Give me a topic. Where's us? Okay, give me. Listen, I'll do it for. Give me $10. I'll talk about whatever you want. I will sell my soul for $10.
I mean, how is that the use of our money? If you want to do farming communities, great, and do a small segment on the queer community, but don't tell me that we have to really. And that goes back to what we were saying about the woman with the gaming. You're trying to create a market.
Well, I wouldn't say you're trying to create a market. I think you're trying to push an agenda within a market that already exists. Because there's farming podcasts out there. So it's like, what do we do with this? Oh, let's make a podcast about farming, but it's queer farming or whatever. Like,
and when we are generating $1 trillion in debt every 100 days, is this really the best use of our tax dollars?
No, not at all.
And people look at it like, well, it's only 1.2 million. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Those nothings add up.
Well, I was just looking at, did you see, can you believe that the credit card debt in our country is 1.3 trillion?
Sure.
I was like, oh man, that's just debts of people that don't know how to work credit cards.
Yeah. And we're churning out $1 trillion of printed money every 100 days to pay for stuff like, well, we're going to forgive your student debt.
Yeah.
So next we'll forgive credit card debt.
Just keep printing, Mom.
Right. So, but
your problems go away by printing.
Right. So why do we have to print it? Because of garbage like this that appeals to a small population of our country. I'm not saying don't do it, but in these times, is that really important?
Yeah.
Mom, just moving money around.
Here's a money question. So, like, let's say the U.S. dollar is at the top. Like, let's just say that we were at the top in the sense of how much it's worth.
Yeah. Used to be. But...
And then, like, say other countries were here. How much can you? Is there like a number on how much you can print until it gets to like here?
That's not how it works.
So right, but like I would think that you devalued the dollar every time you print, right? So at what point do you devalue the dollar till it's like here, or is that the definition of inflation?
Well, no, there's a supply and demand number where you
right.
come to.
So there is a number, but where does that number come from? I actually am not sure.
Well, a lot of things feed into it. Your GDP, your debt, you know how much debt we have to service, right? And last week they passed yet another quote unquote budget that added trillions more.
Yes.
Well, you can't pull that out of your ass. So where do you get it from? You print it. And you just keep throwing more dollars out there, more dollars out there.
So it's not so much that the actual printing is what brings it. Well, it does, obviously, but it's not like it's like a level system where like you keep printing till it gets to here and then you wait for your dollar to go back up slightly and then print more, right?
Well, we have to also remember what influences your dollar is your export. It's not just what happens here.
Your petrol dollar,
Well, yeah, and when export, that's how you play around with it too. Because if American money gets cheap, people want to buy stuff here, which helps to some extent and helps to fluctuate things here because they can get more for their dollar, right?
Right.
Because dollar's not worth much. So they want to buy U.S. goods. Well, you can't, because you got to buy from China, you got to buy from other countries. So sometimes it's artificially not being brought down with pure supply and
Right.
demand. But it's not just like going to the stores here and that affecting dollars or credits, but all of it plays into it, including when you tack on more debt, which is why people keep saying you got to rein it in. You can't just keep throwing money around and printing more money. Eventually, our whole system will collapse
Right.
because it won't be worth anything. It's like the good old days where you saw people in Germany with the wheelbarrow of dollars. The only difference is people don't use dollars or hard currency anymore. It collapses in the sense of your credit collapses, right?
Right.
Or your bank accounts. They can't buy anything anymore.
It's like Venezuela, right? Venezuela, that's what happened. Like literally the paper itself that the money's printed on is worth more than the actual money. So people will just buy stuff with barrels of
right.
like
Cash,
paper,
whatever
paper
currency you
basically,
use.
yeah.
But look at your generation. Your generation doesn't use currency. Everything is
Yeah,
digital.
everything's credit card.
Right. Apple Wallet, credit. No,
Yeah.
not just a credit card. Not everybody does credit, although they have to right now to fund things. But they do everything with Apple Pay. They do it, or, XPay, whatever system, PayPal, digital. Even your stuff online. You transfer money around to pay bills and stuff. Very rarely do you guys use cash in hand.
Yeah.
Right?
I can't tell you
So-
the last time. Yeah, it's funny. So I've had my debit card for like a year now, Mom, and I didn't realize it, but I never activated it. I activated it yesterday or like 2 days ago. I was like, oh wow, I haven't had to take out money because I don't do anything in
I got to
cash.
caution the young people now, even though maybe many of you don't care or can't do anything about it. More and more people are charging the extra percentage for credit cards if you use it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a 3% surcharge. If you go out to dinner, they won't tell you, but you'll see it on your check that there was a surcharge. So for people who can't afford to
And
shop
that's
all
why
the
we
time,
don't tip. That's why.
it does hurt people's tips too. That's
Yeah.
people factor that in if they look and back out the extra charge. That really is just another tax, if you will, on top of everything else, or a payment tax. But that's another issue because not only are you getting into debt, you're getting into debt 3% more
right.
just because of the fact that you have to use
And don't even get me started on the interest rates on these credit cards now. Some of the interest rates are ridiculous. Like with those
But now you understand with the federal government too. They're paying extras. They don't care.
yeah.
They just keep rolling it over every month and paying the extra debt. And from on a personal level, that never gets you out of debt. It just makes it worse down the road. There is nobody to bail us out.
Right. So, yeah, that's good luck, everybody. Good luck. Remember what they taught you in school.
Yeah. Happy Easter.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Tomorrow's Easter.
I feel sorry for your younger generation because it's a rude awakening when we're not around anymore, right? I don't
Yeah,
know
what scares me is the amount of people that don't understand how like basic money works. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert in money or anything, but like, so there's a great channel for those of you that basically want to feel good about yourselves. Caleb Hammer it's called Financial Audit, and people will come who need help with financials, and they're in this crazy debt. And it's like, how'd you get into this debt? And you would think it's like student debt or something, which is obviously a problem, but like, here, this is the one that gets me the most, that I don't understand how people like common sense wise do this. If I have $2,000 in my bank account and I have a credit card limit of $4,000, that does not really mean that you can spend $4,000 unless you have money coming in that you can pay it, right? Like you're not going to buy, you can't have $1 million in the bank and buy a $5 million house. Right?
Well,
you can mortgage it, but yeah.
leverage
But I'm talking basics here. If you don't have the money to buy something, you don't buy it. It is amazing how many people go into debt just like over purchasing from funds they don't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You would think that that's common sense. If I have $2,000, I cannot buy something that's $4,000.
Well, because naively they learn things like, oh, well, I'll use it as an example. Well, P Diddy bought a $5 million mansion and he only had $1 million. Okay, what they don't understand is they have lawyers, they have accountants, they have things that they put in other mouths.
They can
They
leverage
invest the other money, they put it somewhere else. That's leveraging. all of that, it's still risky, but they can
Yeah.
afford to risk that. For the average person, that's not the best way to do things.
Yeah.
But traditionally, Chris, that's how everybody started. That was the American dream. You bought a $30,000
But you
house
had
at
the
five
but
dollars.
you had the
And now,
education to kind of learn that, right? You were kind of forced into it. My generation's not able to be forced into it because we have credit cards. I mean, there's a ton of reasons, but we're just kind of screwed by the system a little bit, more like the education system to not learn this stuff.
well, no, there was the expectation that you bought a $30,000 house because that's all you couldn't even afford it. But in dollars in those days, I put 5,000 down. I'm going to mortgage the rest over 30
30
years
years,
and I'm
yeah,
going to
right.
work every year. And if I lose my job, I'm going to go find a job. And because you had no choice.
But houses were also
Nowadays,
like 30 grand total back then.
but everything was relative because people didn't get
Sure.
paid a starting salary of 40,000 out of college. My God, that was a huge amount of money in the 80s. Back then, like our parents,
Also,
you
interest
hear the
rates were
story.
a lot lower till the crash.
Well, they've fluctuated through the years, but even friends of ours, they got stuck with, a mortgage and interest rates went to double digits in what was it, 2000, whatever. But you paid it. You didn't renege. You took two jobs. You paid
Right.
your mortgage. You wanted that asset.
You
That
definitely
was
worked
what your
for it.
retirement money, if you will. And or to add to your retirement, the pension, whatnot. Things have gotten so out of whack now that, and even my generation, they stopped teaching that, home economics was a bad word because of the feminist movement, when I was younger. Girls don't need to know how to type. They don't need to know. That's sexist to require that. But there were good things that were part of that. You learned how to work a checkbook. You learned how to run a household. You learned about loans and mortgages. Some kids, young men too, learn that in school. They don't teach that anymore because the little darling has to learn AP algebra to get into that Ivy League, so they get out and they don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? Like they've overeducated and they don't cover the basics. We've talked about that. Civic education, everybody needs to know how their country works. I don't care what job you do someday, I don't care what country you live in. You need to understand the facts of where you live to make a decision if you want to stay there or not,
Right.
right? And to make a decision, to be active and protect your own interests. You also need to understand how to deal with money. And it doesn't matter what profession you're in. If you're an artist, you got to know how to make money. You got to pay the
Yeah.
bills. You got to eat,
Yeah.
right? So I
I think
agree.
now, Mom, what would you say to? Because I think a lot of people that will see this will give the whole like, well, there's people out there who are able to use debt as leverage, right? Like those multi millionaires that are like, yeah, I'm $1 billion in debt, but I have a yacht, I have cars, I got whatever. Like I still to this day, I somewhat understand how it works. Like Uncle kind of explained it to me, but I still don't really get it. Like I don't understand how you can have leverage with debt. But that's clearly like this is what I mean though. People will say that like they have the ability to do it who only have $2,000 in their bank account. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like you
Well,
can't
I mean,
do what a
that's extreme.
multi-billionaire is doing.
Right, right. So, we'll use the example of, say, a construction worker. He builds a house that he's going to sell, and he takes his own money and he puts his own money into it. So he builds a $5 million house, he puts $1 million into it. Well, why does he do that? First of all, he doesn't have the funds, but he knows he's going to sell that $5 million house for $5 million. So he's going to make, in theory, a $4 million profit, right? So that's part of leverage. He'll borrow the other money to build it, put $1 million of his own. Say he buys another $2 million. He sells it for $5 million, and he makes a $2 million profit, pays himself back, and he made $1 million,
Right.
right? That's part of leveraging. For people who have a lot of money, it makes sense sometimes to say, listen, with all my investments, regardless of what kind they are, I'm only going to make, or I will make 10%. I could get a loan and buy my house for 5%. Okay? I'm going to leave my money and earn 10. I'm going to borrow and pay 5. So net, I'm still going to be making 5% on all my
Right.
money after I pay off my mortgage. That's a small example. But you have to add to that the tax side of it. For some people, especially if you have a lot of assets, you got to pay taxes on that money. Sometimes it makes sense to borrow money, not more than what you have, but you borrow enough to offset what you make because you get tax
Right.
benefits.
Right.
Okay? So sometimes an account will tell you, hey, you got to go buy something. Sometimes, and this is really advanced, they'll say, you got to go buy a business that's going to fail.
Right. Yeah.
Because you could write all that off, and that's going to offset your multi-million-dollar movie because you're going to pay a fortune in that.
Yeah, that's very similar. So there's a famous story. Grant Cardone is a real estate tycoon. Grant Cardone kind of did something similar where there's a famous story of how he bought a private plane, because he needed it for the tax write-off. So I think a lot of people don't understand how that works. But like Grant Cardone, as much as people give him shit, he's a pretty legitimate businessman. People don't understand how he does it. And that's kind of the point. Like, this is where I get a little upset with the question of like the evil 1%. The people and how they don't pay taxes. It's not that they don't pay taxes. It's just they have very good accountants that get them or that know the tax laws that allow them to get a lot off their taxes. Like, I didn't realize this, but did you know that if you have a bar in your house, you can get huge tax write-offs? Like, if you have a bar of X amount of people, like there's a lot of little things that you can do to take taxes off. Yeah.
Sure.
So and then people go, oh, my taxes are so high, which again, don't get me wrong. Taxes are always high no matter what. I think taxes are bullshit, but I understand why they're there. But
also certain taxes, they don't make sense unless you make a certain amount.
Exactly.
Of money,
Yeah.
So a person who lives in a mobile home isn't going to put a bar in their house and get a tax deduction. It's not going to happen.
It doesn't make sense.
Realistic. Yeah. Right. Having said, because they don't make enough money to justify doing that. They don't fit into the category to take that benefit.
Yeah.
And we could do a whole thing about, the inequalities in taxation and everything else. But yes, you have to be really educated. And yes, there are risks. From your own personal experiences. Sometimes you're willing to go a couple years bare bones and leveraging things because the payout's coming in 2 or 3 years, right?
Again, our viewers don't know what I do, so.
Well, I'm just saying in general. I'm using anybody's example. You can stomach it, and that's how many people made their money. You hear a lot of people's stories, some very wealthy people who'll say, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together for the first 5 years. We put our whole life savings into this business. I think that might have even been Bezos' story, to be honest, with his first wife. They poured everything into the business, and it took off. And that's part of the American dream. It could have failed too, and they would have lost everything.
Yeah, my only problem with a story like Bezos is he's one example of millions of people that failed doing that, right?
Right,
but that's the risk.
That's what country's about. Yeah, the fact that you have equal opportunity to do that. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. You should have equal opportunity to fail.
Like that's the equivalent of when people are like, I don't have to go to college because Bill Gates and Bezos didn't. Right. Right? Yeah. And look how they turned out. Like you're playing odds, and you're right. There's a risk unless you have some like those people started the computers that we know. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates started the computers that we have today. They're an incredibly small sample size of the amount of people that try to do that and fail. So,
and there's people who go to college and go the full boat and still don't know how to balance a checkbook. So, I had many clients who were doctors. I literally had them ask me to write the check for them because they don't know how. They've never written a check. Their spouse would do it. That's fine. But that's the mentality if you don't understand the basics. Now, those people happen to be workhorses, and their work pays for a lot of stuff where they don't have to do those things. So they're lucky.
Yeah. Well, nowadays everything's digital. I didn't know how, when I was doing stuff with Uncle, like I didn't know how to do a check. Like I vaguely remembered how to do it, and I understand how to do it. I'm just like, how do I get certain numbers and stuff on there? Like how do I what do I fill out and what I don't? It's been a while since I've seen a check.
It's not rocket science.
It's not.
Once you you know how to do it. But my point is, some people, what they do for business. They focus just on that, on making the money, and they hire other people to do the other things. They don't necessarily have to know that.
Mom, do you still balance your checkbooks, or do you not have to? Do you do everything digital now, or do you still balance? Oh, you still balance them.
I still balance the checkbook. Do I have to do it digitally? Not really, but that's just or on paper and pencil. Not really, but I do still write. I do still write checks.
Is Graham trying? Is Grandma?
Stay there for a minute, Mom. I'm almost done.
Yeah. I thought Grandma was making a run onto the podcast. I was like, here we go.
Snoring over there, asleep. I don't have to do it, but old school, I do. Because
she heard balancing checkbooks, and she had a panic attack.
No, she's back to sleeping. She sat up and went to sleep. So anyhow, it's just it's it's a different world because unfortunately some of the things, the safety nets or the culturally things that we did in the past don't exist anymore.
Right.
And you mentioned, this is one of the bigger issues for some of these wealthy people. The problem we have, and it's a catch-22, if you overly tax wealthy people, hold on, Mom, they stimulate other businesses. Right. So that's always the problem, that if you overly tax them, they're not going to invest in industries that provide jobs to other people.
Right.
Okay. But what that has morphed into is there's many groups, specifically like the Koch brothers, if you will, multi-billionaires. They encourage opening the borders and bringing low labor costs in. That benefits them. And they hurt the middle class that used to get those jobs. That's another reason why a lot of people are against the quote unquote 1%ers, because they're not putting the money back in. And worse, they're bringing in outside talent to keep their costs low. And they're not getting taxed. So the middle class is getting doubly screwed.
Right.
They're not getting the jobs and they have to compensate for that taxing. So anyhow, that's another way of why people look at that 1% and say, hey, they're not doing their fair share. There's something to be said for that. And there is a balance, but you can't overly tax them. The scary part is when everybody talks about socialized medicine, you could tax every wealthy person in this country, a huge amount. It still won't cover it.
Well, as I was saying, like, we can end it there if you want. I don't really have any other questions for money. But as I said, so Mom and I were just, I don't know if I'll keep it in the video, but we were talking about doing a live podcast. So I think maybe once a month we'll do one live one on a Saturday, and then I'll figure out how we re-upload that one. But yeah, and then people could just ask questions. That way we don't have to do like a full, hopefully my internet holds up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's
hopefully
fine.
on Saturday.
You can do it.
Yeah. So
I can babble whether you edit me or not.
Yeah. I just don't know. It might be a little longer than usual. I don't know. We'll have to see how that one works out. But probably like maybe the last week of the month or whatever. We'll do it. Yeah. Just depends.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think we'll we'll do them we'll do at least one a month unless there's like an issue where we can't do it. But I think I'm going to start getting busy pretty soon. So we'll see. I'll keep the same podcast schedule, but I know with other stuff, I think I'm going to be doing more traveling. Puppy! Happy belated birthday, Puppy. Bobo. Yeah. Did Kenny send you a picture of Alfie? Did he show you? He FaceTimed me the other day. That little white cat with the big eyes?
Yeah.
Mom, I'm getting kitten fever. I'm telling you. I'm getting kitten fever. I might just steal a squirrel outside at this point and just raise a squirrel.
You and Aunt Susan are each other's backup pet sitters now, so I guess you're okay. You could travel. She could watch.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, but then again, I want a cat where I can just freaking carry it around everywhere. Get a little bag for it or some shit. Business meetings.
Kenny, that the airlines are now allowing you to do a carry-on and a pet carrier.
Yes.
So they are allowing it. I don't think it's a good thing, but okay.
Yeah, that could get dicey. You know, if someone's going to abuse that system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Mom. Well, we'll end it there. The only things I have to promote is the podcast channel. I would love people to start where we post clips, so you guys can subscribe to that. I think we're still going to do the live podcast on here, and they'll just do the re-upload on here, and then that gets transferred over to the new channel. Other than that, social media down below, promo codes down below, Discord down below, other links down below for questions and whatever. And I will see you next week. Hopefully, either Mom or someone else will do it next week because Mom's going to be partying with Michael's fraternity. Alpha Pi Delta.
Shirt and everything.
I just don't want Mike sending me a picture of Mom doing keg stands with 20-year-olds. Okay.
Well, Friday night is going out, which is your dad's birthday, by the way. It's we're gonna meet at the thing, do some dinner thing, and then we all hit the bars for the 21 and over.
I know, it's like
dad. I don't think we're gonna be hitting the bars. We didn't go to Penn State.
So,
no nostalgia.
Yeah, my dad has never, like, I can't tell you the last time I saw Dad drink alcohol. I don't think I've ever seen Dad actually drink alcohol. I'm gonna be honest. Okay. Well, I guess champagne on New Year's, but Dad's not a drinker at all. No. So, yeah, that's good. I think he's gonna. That's like if you're a parent and you're like, man, am I doing everything right? When you go to one of those fraternities, I think Dad's going to go, yeah, I'm doing something right here. Like, yeah, this is the parent. Why are both parents doing cake stands with kids? You know?
Well, I could see if one or both parents went to Penn State, a bit of nostalgia.
Why is the son taking care of the parents? Like one of those. That's where it gets dicey. But
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as an aside, Cat Mike is legal this year, so there was no way we were going to parent weekend and watch the drunken parents, walking around the pit. Nobody wants to see that. I don't know what kid would want to see that.
Yeah.
That would be like a negative thing in your mind, seeing your parent
Mike's
in your
been.
backyard dorm.
Mike
drunk
said
as-
yesterday. Mike's been playing Rainbow Six with us on stream.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if I can stay the whole time. Do I want to rank up in Siege, or do I want to make memories at the bar with friends? And I was like, play Siege. I was like, come on, priorities. So yeah, I don't
There's
know.
a few months left. You should
I
make
know.
the memories.
He
How
only
much
has
time left?
1 month left, right?
Right.
Not
We're
even.
down to
Yeah,
April
April.
and-
By the time this comes out, it'll be April 1st. Yeah. So
Yeah, 1 month left. So yeah, let him go make the friends, Chris. Don't keep him on the internet.
I'm his only friend, mother. No, I mean, he hung out with all of us last night, so those are the friends that. I mean, everyone's in there. Michael doesn't really invite his friends to that Discord, but I'm surprised.
This is the time we we were at Lisa, my grandma and I. We had our hair done, and Lisa said, "Oh, your youngest son, he's a riot." And when he was there, I don't know if he told you, but she said, "Time to vomit diner, or time to throw up
Time
diner,
to eat?
diner." Yeah, when I was talking about it, he goes, "Don't you let Chris hear you say that."
Who said that?
Lisa said that they used to call it the time to.
What?
Throw up diner or something like that.
The
It's a
time to
joke. I
eat.
shouldn't say something
She
like
better be joking.
that. So my kid said, "You better not let Chris say that." So anyhow, she made a point of saying, "Oh, your youngest, he's funny too," because obviously she likes you too. So I said, "Well, next time Kenny comes, when he goes to Little Pickles, I'll have him stop in and say hi and introduce himself, so you meet all three."
I didn't know Michael was going to Lisa too.
He just went last time because Danielle's never around. So I said, "Listen, if you really want to get your hair cut before spring break, Lisa has a spot. She's right there." And it's fine. He just need his hair shaved in the back. And Lisa only does men's hair of her clients.
Yeah. All right, Mom. So as I said, everything down below, and we will see you whenever we see you. So laters.